Whew. How's it going, YouTube? So, today, this video has nothing to do about combat. This video, in a way, you know what? I'll take that back. This video has something to do with combat. In a mental way. Unbelievable. So I saw this video on YouTube. Forgive me for having the Alabama hoodie on with the hood up. As you can see, I need a haircut. Just had so much going on, I haven't had time to go get one. Probably should be doing that today. But I saw this video, this guy, this black gentleman in Memphis, Tennessee. And, pardon me while I take a sip of coffee. So, you'll notice a little bit of noise in the background. Hitchcock 45. I love watching them. It was the end of the video anyway. But this guy is black. He's in Memphis. He lives in Memphis, Tennessee. And he got locked up for not paying child support on a kid that wasn't even his. He never put his name on the birth certificate. He never signed. He wasn't. It wasn't his kid. He got. It was not his kid at all. He got locked up for it. After he got out, he went and paid for his own paternity test because the judge wouldn't pay for it, or wouldn't order one. So once he did that, and it said 0%, so obviously he could have been in my opinion, I'm thinking he could have been messing with a woman that was white. Maybe, probably, I don't know. I don't know either that or the judge was just straight racist. Either way, he could have been messing with a black woman. I don't know what color the woman was. But, who was accusing him, whatever. But, he had been paying child support forever. And, the kid wasn't his. He never signed his name. He wasn't even there. So, how did he get locked up for that? So he gets out and takes the paper to the judge again after he gets out, showing that, hey, this is not my child. And the judge says, well, okay, it's not yours, but I find it very distasteful that you would deny a child. Coming from a judge, you're a judge. Your job. And I'm not getting into presidential politics and all that. I'm getting into the law, which is what everybody does on their gun channel for the Second Amendment. So we're just reversing this around, as far as another role. That was not his kid, and the judge said, I find it very distasteful that you would deny a child. It's not my kid. Why am I paying for a child that's not mine? Why am I going to jail for a child that's not mine? Dude, I'm glad I don't live in Memphis. I think, honestly, strictly like I told my dad, I said, I think it had everything to do with the judge not liking the gentleman and him being black. I think strictly that's what it was. Had he had been white, I swear on everything, I don't think that would have happened. I'm sorry, gotta get my nicotine in me. But I promise you guys no more cigarettes. But seriously, how can you lock somebody up for a kid that's not theirs? What is this? Like, literally. It just blew my mind. So, now you're fighting with a mental combat, and then he got locked up for it. So now he's in jail with these thugs and these murderers and child molesters because he didn't pay child support. Now he's fighting for his ass crack. So yeah, it does have something to do with combat in a way. And I just wanted to put that out there to let people know, hey man, you need to be real careful with whoever you're dealing with or whatever you're involved in. You need to make sure you got your butt covered from, you know, north to south, south to north, north to south, east to west, west to east. I mean, you need to make sure you got your T's and your I, you know, T's crossed and your I's dotted. I mean, whatever you're dealing with, whoever you're dealing with, whatever you're doing, you got to make sure you're ready for whatever. Because if something kicks off, you got to be able to be like, hey, no, you're not running me up. You got to be able to do that, brothers and sisters. You know, because, and I've seen it happen with women, celebrities, you know. Britney Spears, she's a perfect example. Paying all that money, I mean, even though it was his kid, you know, whatever that dude's name, Kevin Federline, or is that his name? I forgot his fucking name. I think I'm right. I think his name is Kevin Federline something. And they were his kids, and he sued her and got custody of the kids, and they were his kids though. But she wound up paying him, and he made him a millionaire off that dude. He became a millionaire just from having kids with her and getting custody and making her look crazy. Goes to show, get your stuff in order. I don't care how much you love somebody. I don't care what you think will never happen. You don't, dude. I've been with women, and you know, always, no matter how much I cared for, always dotted my I's because I already knew. I just was like, you know, my dad said nothing ever lasts forever. So anything could go wrong. So you better be ready. Or you need to know who you're dealing with, you know. Is she that type of woman that's going to be like, if you guys break up, you know, is she going to want alimony? Is she going to want child support, you know, or is she going to try to sue you? You know, you got to know what type of woman you're dealing with, man, these days. And ladies, it goes the same for you. You got to know what type of man you're dealing with these days, you know. Is he going to beat on you? Is he going to do the same thing that you would do to him? Is he gonna, you know, want alimony from you if you got money? You know, is he gonna want child support and try to take the kids from you if you got money? You know, you got to be prepared and protect yourself at all means. By all means, if you got money, which I don't, I don't have a whole lot of anything, but I've learned a lot over the years from seeing what my dad went through, and that was enough for me. That was an eye opener for me. What my dad went through. You know, my dad went through some stuff that no man should ever go through. And that was enough to open my eyes to be very careful on the women I date and the women I decide to sleep with. And, you know, that was enough for me to stay sharp. And my other two brothers, I hate to say it, you guys can get mad all you want. They don't know. They have their own special way of picking out women. They pick out some good ones. Yeah. But, another thing. I'm going to start, like, I got to get one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to stick to it so I can start showing you guys training and actual, like, you know, doing things for you guys besides just holding the camera in my hand and then trying to show you something in the other hand, which, although I'm very talented, I can only go so far, you know. So I'm actually going to go invest in something today, and or it's probably today, yeah, most likely. It's raining over here in Indiana, and get something so I can start, you know, making better videos for you guys. But yeah, just goes to show you never truly know somebody. You think you know somebody, and then boom, the shit hits the fan, and you're done. You know, my ex-wife, yes, I was married. She had told me, she was like, you know, hey, I'm with so and so, blah blah blah. You know, it's not your kid. You know, but they're talking about you still have to pay child support. I said, you better tell him to put his name on the birth certificate, sister. Although she wasn't black, you know, I've never, you know, she's white. I don't know what it is, man. I'm not racist. When I lived in Detroit, I saw plenty of black girls, man. And I'm half black. My mom's full-blooded German. She's white. You know, I saw plenty of biracial and different colored women that I was in Detroit when I lived in Detroit for a little while. That was my aunt. But I was just like, man, she's a knockout. So color is no issue to me. But for some reason, in my home state where I grew up and lived here in Indiana, I mean, I don't ever really go out looking for women. They come, you know, every woman I've ever had here, I've never really pursued. They pursued me. So I just have too much on my mind, you know, to like be chasing females. You know, it might sound a little unusual, but when you don't have a lot of money, the last thing you're doing if you're about handling your business is going to go look for a female. If you're about handling your business and you're broke, the last thing you're about to be doing is out there chasing tail. So, you know, tail chased me. And all the tail that chased me just so happened to be Caucasian. So, you know, that's just how it works out. That's just how it worked out. And, you know, the one I'm with right now, the tail that, you know, I'm with right now, she's Caucasian. And I've been with her for going on 7 years, so. And she's a good one. She's a good one. And got blessed, and really, I believe God blessed me with that. Because I haven't had any problem. We've had a few problems, but nothing like I've had nothing nowhere near like these other women. Lord. She's an angel compared to everybody else I've had, and my brothers have had. So, this is more of a mental state. Be ready mentally. Don't ever let a woman upset you. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but when you're in a relationship, you get into fights and screaming matches. I've seen my mom and dad put their hands on each other and everything. I've seen it all. I've been in relationships where women have put their hands on me, hit me, thrown phones in my face, you know. I mean, done all kinds of stuff, man. You know, called the police on me, or thought they were going to call the police on me. Not too bright. You got to remember, before you decided to call the police, I already knew you were going to do that, so I was like 7 moves ahead of you and told you exactly how it was going to go when they got there. So then they decided not to call the cops. I've been in situations where I was in an argument when I was living in my old neighborhood over on the east side here in Indy, and which is a bad area. And I got in an argument with my girl, and these 3 white dudes come from across the alley talking shit. I'm like, what's this? I didn't even have a gun on me this time. All I had was a knife. But you got to remember, though, I'm trained. So, you know, I jumped off the porch. I was like, dude, do I know you guys? Well, what's going on? I was like, well, you're way over here. You're like 150 yards away from me. Oh, that's a little exaggerative. They're 100 yards flat. No, I'd say 80 yards. They're 80 yards away. You're 80 yards away from me. What's going on? Well, I said, hey man. He was like, well, he was like, well, you were gonna put your hands on her. I said, dude, first of all, no, I wasn't. Second of all, what I'm doing with my woman has nothing to do with you, dude. It wasn't like you saw me punching this woman in the daylights out of her and stomping her head on the concrete or stabbing her. You know, we were just arguing verbally, you know, and you came across all the way to get my business. I went off on him, man. And I told him, I said, dude, you don't know her. And second of all, I don't even have to explain myself to you. If you guys want to get to getting it, we can get it right now. What's up? You know what I'm saying? I drew my knife out, you know, which was a different one than this. And it was a pocket knife, you know, and it wasn't full tang. And I said, let you guys, you know, let's go. Who's ready? Go grab your, you know, one of them had a 2x4. I said, you know, you want to, you know, the one with the 2x4 and the one with the metal pipe, you're going to get stabbed first. Best believe, you know, that's 3 of you. I can guarantee you. Somebody's walking away leaking, if not all 3 of you. I can guarantee you that. Somebody ain't about to live. And they decided to back off because I was ready to go. And then she was on the porch crying and screaming. You know how women are. Oh, Brock, please don't stop. Oh, guys, get away. You don't know him. He's nuts. I'm just like, man, it was a scene, man. I'm telling you, I'm so glad to have gotten out of that situation. Not gonna mention her name. She tried to run my dad over with her car and me. I don't know why my dad didn't move the fuck out of the way. I got out of the way. I don't know how he didn't move. He just froze. I'm like, thank God the curb stopped the car, because he would have definitely been fucked. He'd have been hit right in the lower bottom of his stomach, and he'd have been all the way effed. So glad we got rid of her. But the point is, man, you gotta, when you're dealing with them, like the cop. I read reports on actual paper and talked to actual cops, not just videos. No, talked to actual police and actual read reports. Because my brother's an attorney, so plus I'm able to gain access to certain things. I'm not a hacker or anything, but I mean, I got certain. I have a way to obtain information others may not be able to obtain because of certain statuses that my family members, a few of my family members have. I'm able to gain certain information that other people may not be able to get. Not too much more, but enough, enough to dig in a little deeper. I can peel back the sheets. Put it like that. The point is, most deaths and most violence, the cops says they, and the cops call, and the calls the cops say they hate and they fear going to the most, are domestic calls. Domestic calls. Because you got to remember, that woman officer or that man officer is stepping in to another man's home or woman's home and telling them what to do with their significant other or their kids. Dude, I wouldn't want that. I'd be like, dude, I know back in the day, my dad used to go off, but that, back in '89, you could do that. You could cuss the cops out. My dad was big. My dad was bench pressing 500 pounds when he was my age. So I'm a peon compared to him. Only way I'd have been able to kill my dad back in the day, as big as he was, boy, is I would have had to have my knife, and I had to use my training to start cutting every artery he's got, because in a fist fight, he just wouldn't have felt nothing. He was just big as he's still huge. I mean, just not somebody you want to mess with. He's gotten older now, so I can take him, but back in the day, I would have had to cut that dude up. I'd have to stab him right in his eyeball, take the knife out and stab him right in the throat, and then cut my distance until he bled out, He was a big dude. So, but back in the day, cops would come to my dad's door and he'd straight up tell them, because it'd be over domestic, him and my mom arguing, and the neighbors would call the cops, or my mom would call the cops, and some shit, I don't know, man. I don't think my mom ever did. I think it was the neighbors. I think my mom called the cops one time. The neighbor's name normally did it, and he straight up told them they're knocking on the door. He said, "Get the F away from my door, dude." He said, "It's 10 o'clock at night." He said, "I got work in the morning." He opened the door, and then we had a screen door that was locked, and he straight up told, they saw how big he was, and they were scared as hell, dude. They called for backup, 3 other cops, told him to come out, or they're gonna. Oh, he said, "Man, you guys can open this door if you want to." He said, "Then it's fair game. You don't got a warrant." He said, "I didn't nobody invite you over here." He said, "You don't got a warrant." He said, "You come in here." He said, "I can guarantee you." He said, you won't be tasing me." He said, "And if you do, you're gonna wish you hadn't." Back in that day, man, you could have tased my dad. Before he went down, boy, he'd have effed your ass up. You would have had to shoot him. Shit. And they, and they left. Domestic, don't get involved. Don't get involved. And unless you see a dude beating the hell out of a lady with a metal pipe or a bat or something, don't get involved. You see a dude smack a woman or something, don't go being a hero, man. I don't care if you're trained or not, I mean, it's kind of like a fine line. Like, when do you jump in? If kids were involved, yeah. But if you see someone get in an argument and the lady's not getting the shit kicked out of her, if you just saw, like, okay, if you saw a woman get smacked, yeah, I'd sit there and observe. And if he did it again, I'd jump in. But if he didn't do it again, I'd leave it alone. If he grabbed her up and then let her go, I'd leave it alone. You know, don't be so quick to jump in domestic disputes, man, because that's when a man or a woman's rage comes out. And when rage comes out, you start seeing strength come from a human being that you never thought that person or individual, he or she could have. Nor do you know if that person's got a gun or a knife on them, or if they're trained. Now, in all defense, people that are trained out here, we all can look at each other like John Lovell said, warrior poet. When you go into certain stores or whatever, you can look at like he said, I can look at that person and he can look at me, and we both look at each other. Shooter, okay, good guys, trained good guys, good. Same for me. I can look at a person, and be able to tell, trained or shooter. Just because you got an effing gun on you does not make you a shooter. You can shoot, doesn't mean you're trained, doesn't mean you're, it ain't off this movie called The Virginian, with Trace Atkins in it. He said, anybody can draw fast, but, and might even hit something. But then he said, the most important thing he said, but what he hits may not be what he intended to hit. So in other words, anybody can be quick to draw with a gun and pull the trigger, but that's not trained. You might F around, and instead of hitting your target, if you were shooting at me, you might shoot that little kid that was standing right behind me, or an innocent woman, or another innocent man, or shoot $100,000 truck. I mean, you don't know. So be trained, man. So I tell everybody, training is key, especially with firearms. Training is key, and especially when it comes to knives. I've seen people get in knife fights and wind up cutting themselves with their own knife because they didn't know how to properly hold it. They didn't know how to properly cut with it. They didn't, I've seen people in my old neighborhood, I've seen people in my old neighborhood. I just heard something at my door. I've seen people in my old neighborhood, forgive me, literally, okay, it's nobody. I've seen people in my old neighborhood, I've said this a million times, get the hell cut out of them. I saw this guy get cut from here all the way down here with a box cutter. And you know what for? Calling someone's other girlfriend a bitch. And the guy asked, it was a white guy too, it was funny as hell. And I knew the dude too, it was one of my dad's so-called friends. He was a work associate / friend. And he asked my dad's friend, he said, please don't call my woman out of her name, man, please don't. So my dad's friend was, was a racist black man. He hated white people. Just, like a lot of white people hate black people. He was one of those racist black people who hated white people. So he didn't like the fact that this white guy was with this black girl. Well, she was biracial. But she had black people hair. But she was like yellow, like a little darker than me. But she had black people hair. She didn't have my hair. So, but he didn't like that. So, he's like, yeah, you're a bitch. Your girl's a bitch for even being with you, And he said, hey, man, you can call me whatever you want to call me. Just don't talk to my woman that way. And he did. He said it again to her. And he took that for a weakness, and the dude whipped out a box cutter, man, and as he was running to his truck to go get whatever, a piece of wood with a nail in it, I think is what he said he was going to go get to defend himself with. He effed up there. He should have gotten the truck, shut the door, and locked it, and then got the wood. Instead, he had his back turned, and since he had his back turned while reaching for it, that dude cut him all the way from the top right here up by his ear, I scalped all the way down to his shoulder. He had got cut so bad I don't even know he lives. Literally, I've seen some stuff, and all over because what? Putting yourself in another man's business. He almost lost his life. That's all I have to say. There will be a part 2 to this video too.